We made it to the end of the day. Now, I want to just encourage you to hang in there because we've saved the best for last. Because it's all about literacy. And it has been a full day. How many of you have been here all day long? Okay, I appreciate you. And why did you stay in the back? Could you kind of like move up a little bit so we can kind of befriend everyone here? Because this is a special, my special panel that I just couldn't say no to anyone. It was very difficult because we had so many individuals that really should be here as well. So I say two words a lot, and it's called why not? And I don't know if you all ever have asked that question to anyone, but I found out when you ask it, it's very difficult for someone to respond back and say why. It opens up the door to possibilities unknown, and it has been really a game changer for me. Has anybody ever asked why not when someone said why? You start doing something new and different? Have you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you learned when you said that? This is interaction class right now. You can talk. What have you learned?
Look at you crazy.
Objections, sometimes rebuttals, but you don't do what?
Give up.
You don't give up. You can't quit. Let me tell you, everybody always asks me, Dr. Sandra, you have 300 partners. Did all of them just say yes to you? No. I had a lot of rebuttals. I had a lot of no's. I had a lot of people that said, just can't do it, or some people just didn't know how. But guess what? I never gave up, and we can't give up. And I said to someone else earlier, and just so if you don't know, this work is actually a ministry. There are individuals in other countries, they call them ministers of education. And the reason why they call them that is because ministry means to serve. And so everyone who has elected to be an educator has elected to serve. And it is a great servantship, right? And it's not just educators. Veterans are in that group. The medical field is in that group, nurses, doctors. You know, this is the calling that we've answered to. And I'm so excited that we have so many wonderful individuals who understand that if you cannot read, you can't do anything. And so I know I hear some people that say, everyone won't go to, how many of you guys hear that? Everybody won't go to college. We know that, but let me just say this, as a mother and as an educator in very underserved communities, that education is not just important, it is essential. I would not be here if I didn't have an education. You would not be here if you didn't have an education. So it is essential. Some people have the luxury of not going, others have to go. And I think that's the message. The message is, I share with every parent I meet, whatever you do, you get your children to college. Whatever it takes, you make sure they can read. Whatever it takes, you make sure that they soar to the highest. And I have some individuals here who believe just like I do. And so I'm going to announce them, and we have a full team, but a very powerful one. And so we have Dr. Anita Moultrie-Turner from Isana Academies. Please give her a hand. Chief Academic Officer, as well as author of this book, Recipe for Great Teaching, 11 Essential Ingredients. If you do not have this book, you can still get this book. And she now, I learned, has written a reflection guide to go with this, with 10 more. She's writing another book with 10 more ingredients so that you can reflect on what does it really take. And if you really want to know how to be a great teacher, I'm telling you, I learned most of what I know from this lady. And she's come and trained many teachers all over this state, and I think beyond. And so she's just a fabulous person, and I'm excited to see her new upcoming book. And then we will also have Deus Brown from Walgreens. And he is going to talk more about the We Teacher Award, which is actually still going on. So how many of you know teachers are spending money out of their own pocket for school supplies? Mm-hmm. Well, now you can talk to him about, and he'll share with you about ways that we can still nominate teachers for that. We have Mr. TJ Lofton, who is a motivational speaker. Let's give him a hand. And also author of Monetizing Gentrification. So holds a lot of wonderful workshops, does a lot of training, makes a lot of people and individuals aware of their community. Has done a lot of work with me in partnerships. And next to him, we have Mr. James Bell, who is the Associate Director of Programs, Los Angeles, California, Common Threads. James has really worked very closely with me in helping to bring culinary arts and healthy cooking into schools. That is a career that is booming. Many youth learn. How many of you know you can learn to read and you got no math when you're cooking? You know, there's a lot of math, there's a lot of science involved, there's a lot of collaboration and teamwork, and paying attention and focusing. And so he's brought this wonderful program free of charge many times to, most times at least I know, to many schools all over. So Common Threads, he'll tell you all more about that. And then we have Dee Dee Small-Hayes, who is Executive Board Member and Scholastic Director, Snoop Youth Football League.
Okay. All right.
And she's also has another program, Platinum Plus Scholars, that she will share more about. Doing wonderful things with Snoop Dogg and just really out there trying to build a community around health and wellness and education. And then next to we have, oh my goodness, such a powerhouse here. I am just so excited to have Duran. We call him Duran Bowie. Founder and CEO of I'm a Movement, Not a Monument. And he is around providing tutoring and training and support and leadership and has so many arms out in the community trying to do two things: provide access and opportunity for you. And he's just a powerhouse. You're going to hear from him. He's got so many ideas and greatness. And we have Ty Chapman on the end from Scholastic. Scholastic, I think this is their 100th birthday year, right? 100 years. How many of you know about Scholastic? Scholastic's been around a long time. You've been to book fairs, and those, but guess what? There's so much more than books now. They're about professional development, teacher training, and they are just everywhere doing some wonderful, outbreaking things. I'm working with them as well to try to, again, bring and help with literacy. And one thing that they're doing, I must say, that they are willing to sit down with school districts and work with them on their literacy action plan. So that is something that is awesome. I'm excited for them. So I don't know, we're just gonna kick this off by saying what needs to happen. Listen, you all, we've been hearing about literacy for a long time. And I'm here to say that, unfortunately, our Black and brown students are still reading at a very low rate. So what can we do differently? We are getting into 2020. It is on the cusp. We got to do something differently. What do you think needs to happen to kind of move that needle forward? And I'd like to start off with Duran. Duran, could you start us and lead us off with that area?
Yeah. So, you know, one of the unique things that I've actually done myself is go to them directly. Use the buildings because, like she said, it's 2020 coming up, right? In 2020, we've already established schools, private schools, parks, recs, where students are already at. So why would I go and build a new building where I'm gonna have to work that much harder to try to get the students there, try to work on partners to come into that building? Why don't I just go where they're at and start working with them? Build a budget and a fund that gives access and capability for those students to be able to have a retention span at a high rate. Because what I've realized is when you go away from the system, you don't see the retention span high enough. But when you work with the system, you see a high retention span, which is able to grab those students in a 90-day span. You can see a change in your students from them 100% retention span, 98% retention span. So it's very important for us to go to the students, grab them, even if it's just 10, 5, those 5 students that are doing 100% will turn into 25 students the next year. So just start at a slow rate, build it up, and before you know it, you'll have an actual sustained program.
Dr. Turner, what's happening at Isana Academies with literacy? And thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We do several things through ISANA. ISANA is an acronym for Innovative and Socially Aware Network of Achievers. We have over 3,000 students in the Los Angeles area and a school in Compton. I have over 500 employees. So trying to get everyone to understand the impact of literacy is quite a task. So it has to come at different angles and different levels. We worked very closely with CABE, which is the California Association of Bilingual Education, to take all of our teachers for 2 years through training of how to engage kids around building their language skills. Many of our students are second language learners. They're English learners as we use in education. And so we want to build student voice. I keep telling my teachers, I don't want the sage on the stage, I want the guide on the side. I don't want to hear your voice, I want to see how you impact and improve and empower student voices. Another thing that we do is we call integrated instruction, where they're working with full groups, but we do small group instruction, we do centers, and we also have a program called iReady, which is a digital program that focuses on their ELA skills and their math skills. I don't know if you realize that our students have to take a very big test, a California test called the CASP, and the CASP is a standards-based test that is, I think, unfair. That's why I paused. I'm trying to be politically, because you're forcing kids
You're not alone.
to take a test in English when they already know that language and cognition are very closely related. So if I have to think in Spanish, I have to read it in English, I have to answer the questions in English, and many of our English language learners are not striving, and I want them to do that. I think my staff was very surprised that I also coupled that with social emotional learning, because many of our kids come to our campuses with trauma. And so I have a school psychologist and a counselor on every one of my campuses. In fact, my director of pupil services, Mr. Rob Thrash, is in the audience, and he's that handsome gentleman there. We also have computer labs, and we have one-on-one laptops for the children. And we also have what we call a parent university. So we run classes for parents because we believe in partnerships with our parents. And finally, we have libraries in every classroom, and we have, we work with Scholastic actually, and we have book fairs for the students. We want to put books in their backpacks when they go home, and we have to have our parents understand that you don't just have to, they worry that they don't speak English, so they think they can't help their children. But the reality is that a second language learner is actually very fluent, because now they're dealing with a dual language, which is an asset for all of our children. So we want them to be able to build their skills and thrive and do well. And if you have children, anything that they can read, comic books, magazines, newspapers, paperback books, take them to the library, even songs and puzzles, and all of that builds language. And the best thing actually is talking with your children. I know we get busy, and it's like, sit down, eat your dinner, do your homework, take out the trash, get your bath, go to bed. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
With a full stomach.
So on your way home or while you're cooking, ask them, how was your day? Get them to talk about what their day is like, and that builds their ability to communicate effectively. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you, and I look forward to continue working with partnerships, all of these wonderful folks, because it is about partnership, and kids matter.
Thank you for saying that. You made me feel good. First of all, yeah, she gets a hand for that. Because you made me feel good, because as I'm driving my son to school, I start talking to him about his school and saying, what's your notes? And so, long drives is a good opportunity to do that. So hearing their voices, and I see that Scholastic has this new program called Rising Voices. Ty, what's happening now? I'm just impressed with what Scholastic is doing and how it's impacting and actually evolving.
Yeah, I will say, first of all, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackie, too, for this opportunity. Scholastic, I think, for some reason, our brand has, although it started in core products, the products that you're seeing in the classroom that your kids bring home, we always get branded best for our books. So that is something that we are very proud of. But the book alone is not enough. The teacher needs to be proficient as well. You as a family member need to be engaged. You need to know what's happening in the classroom. You need to know what the expectations are for your children, as well as the expectations for state testing. So our brand now, we are going into the pillars of the literacy products are definitely there. The professional learning is there, and then the family and community matter as well. I love that Dr. Jackie mentioned the Rising Voices collection, because what's been curated here with David Banks, who is the founder of an all-boys school, 5 campuses within New York City, is men of color, boys of color don't get to see boys of color or men of color in books that they're reading in classrooms. So this collection has males as the protagonists throughout the 300 book series. So that's unique. I love that our founder, we are fortunate enough to have someone, his father started the company, he is now the chairman, and he believes with that 2 presidential kind of thing that we have going, he believes very strongly in children being able to see themselves. I love that the panelists before our group said, create your own yes. Well, that yes begins when you can see yourself. Growing up, I read. Avid reader, but it was cultivated from me being able to escape my circumstances through a book. It hasn't changed. And I think we are always trying to find, what's the next greatest thing? Just go back to the core. It worked for us,
Right.
so it works
That's
for our
right.
students as well, even now today. So, I tell people all the time, I have the greatest job in the world. I have nephews, I don't have kids, but I am fortunate to serve the nation. So your kids are my kids all over the world. I hop planes to get to see what's going on, and I think we have to realize as a generation that unless we truly equip our students to have what Dr. Jackie said, the opportunity to make equity a verb, okay, to be exposed to text, to let education be a civil right, truly, then we, as I age, we're gonna have a problem. Because if we have sailors that can't read manuals, how can they defend you? If we have students that, nurses that can't decide or decipher what dosage of medication to give you, how are we going to be protected? So I think when we make it real world issues and make it applicable to children that way, we can truly see what our greatness really could be if we work directly with them.
Awesome. Des from Walgreens, tell us what's going on with We Teacher.
Okay, so my name is Des. I oversee a lot of the Walgreens pharmacies here in LA, and I'm here representing Walgreens because we saw the value in teachers and how we understand that a lot of the teachers are spending out-of-pocket expenses to help students in their own classrooms. So what Walgreens did back in July is that we partnered in 2014, but this particular year we partnered with Me to We Foundation, and we got a lot of our vendors that we use inside of our stores to commit to $5 million that's going to go to the Me to We Teachers Foundation for this year right here. So $5 million donation. So of that $5 million, a lot of the money is going to the teachers here locally in LA, which was really exciting because a lot of times when we give money to organizations, the local teams here in LA don't quite feel it. So we was really proud of that. So we also noticed that we learned that most teachers spend approximately $480 out of their pockets every single year. So what we committed to, and anyone in the room can enroll. So you can go to me2we.org or you can go to walgreens.com/me2we.
Wait a minute, let's repeat that again.
Okay, so, all right,
'Cause
so.
if you know any teacher, or you are a teacher, you can nominate them.
Exactly, or you can self-nominate as well.
You can self-nominate?
Exactly.
Okay, I'll be doing that today.
Okay.
So, go ahead,
Right.
repeat it again.
So you can go to walgreens.com/me2we, or you can go to me2we.org to sign up. Okay, so what that does is you are able to sign up a teacher to receive a $500 gift card that year to comp that $480 that we believe that the teachers are spending out of their pocket every single year. And we are taking nominations all the way through May 2030 next year, May 31 next year. So if anyone can go to me2we.org and sign up. And you'll also have a lot of cool free resources in which the $5 million went to. So teachers have a lot of the things that they need that they don't normally have access to. So that's the reason why we're here today.
Isn't that awesome? WeTeachers.org. Don't forget that. You can go online right now, okay? And then scroll halfway down and you'll see me. Different dress. All right. All right, so I would like to hear from Dee Dee Hayes, okay? What is happening over here? You have so many hands and so many different things. Tell us what's going on and how we can improve literacy from your perspective.
From my perspective, well, to start off with, Snoop Calvin Broadus sends his appreciation and his love. He's actually on tour right now in Texas. So I'm the Scholastic Director with the Snoop Youth Football League. I've been on the executive board for about 12 to 13 years. My boys actually played in the league, and I saw a need of help with our boys and our girls because we have cheerleaders as well. I collect all of the report cards from every single participant within the Snoop League, starting, well, it's their last report card in May or June, whenever they get out of school. And I actually calculate everyone's GPA. So the majority of the kids, I would say about 85% of the kids in the Snoop League have a 3.0 and above. But then there are some who fall under a 2.0. And initially when I became a member on the executive board, and I'm looking like, how can this kid, well, how can this parent, be okay with this and then still let the child play football or, any choice of sport. But it was brought to my attention like, okay, Dee Dee, everyone's circumstance is different. This kid could be going home feeding their brothers and sisters cereal or noodles, and then this whole football field is like their outlet. So I then in turn was like, okay, we need to get them help. And that's because my whole input was like, okay, they're not playing until, their academics is first. You're a student athlete first. And they're still a student athlete. So I reach out to various organizations and partner up with them for mentoring to start off with, tutoring assistance, counseling, because we do offer that. We have an organization that we partnered up to provide the families counseling once they sign up for this particular program. And then I'm also partnering up with other organizations as well as some libraries as well, because they offer the free online tutoring. And now that I've met Duran, I've recruited him as well. But literacy plays an essential role, and like Ms. Chapman was saying, these kids are our future. So how are they going to be able to, even if they want to become an attorney, we need you to know all the laws, like clearly. And that's just to give an example. We have 15 chapters, chapters within the Snoop League, and a chapter will consist of 6 teams, and we're throughout LA County, Orange County, and San Bernardino County. We also have 10 chapters in Northern California. So in the midst of that, we're trying to build relationships with the kids' schools as well, because that's, that's a secondary and it starts from there. And I did want to share that we have our first Rhodes Scholar, and he's a product of the Snoop League. His name is Kylan Moore, and he just came out with a book called A Dream Too Big. And he's been on The Steve Harvey Show, 700 Club, Good Morning America, and he's just one of the kids who sets the bar really high. And he's actually giving back, you know, coming back to the community, coming back to the Snoop Lee and mentoring these kids. He also has a program that's called like Grades to Face. So you show your grades and you get like free haircuts. So from there, I decided to have a pipeline because the Snoop Lee, we service the kids from ages 6 to 14 or kinder through 8th grade. And I decided to start a nonprofit called Platinum Scholars College Prep. And this will assist, that my program assists with college planning starting in the 8th grade until the sophomore year in college. So we offer the SAT workshops, SAT, ACT workshops, and all this is legal. SAT and ACT workshops.
And on that note, okay, I have to speed it up because our time is running out
Okay.
short. But I
So-
want to just say this in recognition to you, because you also believe in exposing children. How many of you know exposure is the best form of education? To be honest, and she's taken them and exposed them to so many events. One of them was the Teen Kids Award, and
Oh, yes. So I take about 150 to 200 kids to the Kids' Choice Awards
Kids'
as well as
Choice
the Teen
Awards.
Choice Awards as well.
so I would want to move on to James. James, common threads, you know, you're bringing in food and health and wellness. I know I always talk about food, but you told me always, you said it's health and wellness. So how are we actually able to bring that? There's a lot of educators here who might think about, would love to incorporate that in their schools.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, first of all, Dr. Jackie, for having us here today. So the organization I work for is called Common Threads. We do culinary art, which Dr. Jackie so eloquently talked about around food. But we also, one of the major things we do is provide curriculum for teachers through pre-K to 8th grade around nutrition. So there are 8 lessons that are about an hour each that kids could learn from. So the themes stay the same. It'd be protein, fat, reading a nutrition label. But they band up as you go from pre-K to 8th grade. Pre-K is very much hands-on with the kids. 8th grade is a bit more independent, and they learn to create projects of how they would affect change in their community, for example. So it's a bit more in-depth, but, you know, much like math or anything else, it levels upon itself. And the idea being that you're creating agents of change, you know, as I approach it, or we approach it, Common Threads approaches it, that, you know, you don't just... You teach the foundational understanding of nutrition, but also they get to actually, what we do grant is not only the curriculum, but we have funding to grant for the recipes that they get to create. So every lesson has a recipe connected. We're in a digital space now, so we do have some analog and like physical curriculum, but we also have a digital platform called Common Bites, and that's Bites with a Y, .org, where teachers, students, and parents can go to find these resources, recipes, things of that nature that they actually can use in classroom or at home to engage with kids, to engage with the students. So the idea is that, again, through this, they learn nutrition, they learn how to execute a snack, but the curriculum is Common Core aligned, Next Generation Science Standard aligned, ELA supporting, so English Language Arts supporting, STEM supporting, SEL supporting, so it's not taught in a vacuum. I think that was the biggest, or we thought that was the biggest, so we designed it with teachers in mind, but through the lens of teachers. They actually piloted some of the ideas out in Miami. We're in 12 markets, that being one of them. And from their feedback, we still created and crafted the curriculum more and more. So the idea was that we didn't want teachers just feeling like they had to teach nutrition, and it's this standalone, you know, curriculum that they're working towards. It's in a vacuum. No, it supported everything else that they were working towards and working toward these competency tests that they might have to teach as a way to decompress from tests or a way to prepare for tests. So, you know, I think the way I see it, Common Threads works as at anything. You know that you could read anything. We are that anything, right? When you learn to read a recipe, you're learning about culture, because we weave in culture heavily. A lot of our recipes from different cultures, so they're learning about culture. They're learning about math, right? So this is the anything that they actually can bring into their classrooms, and when I say they, teachers, to really understand how to support literacy. So we are one of the hows to get to this idea, or this way in which to better support literacy. The other thing is that, and this came from a conversation with a teacher, one of the beautiful things is that the communication between kids, sometimes it's hard to talk literacy and work through literacy if everybody's coming from a different place, right? but food has this amazing thing of bringing people together.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It is, right? It is, right? So,
It is.
so-
But can I add something to what you're saying?
Yeah.
If you've ever seen kids in a room with the chef jackets on and the hat and cooking and also using, doing it without even using any heat or anything, just actually, what do you call that again when they're actually just making food without?
Well, yeah, they make it feel, I mean, we do know oven recipes and mise en place, like prep, so they understand how to, and the cooking classes she's talking about. So that's one of our main in-kitchen cooking classes. And then we have the in-school cooking class.
Right.
But I'll let you finish what you were saying.
Okay, no, that was it.
Oh, no, it is a fascinating-
I'm going to
it's a-
move on to TJ actually because of our
Okay,
time.
okay.
Because it is just a fabulous program. I wish we actually had pictures of it. So TJ, what's going on? I know you're a motivational speaker and you're talking to students a lot. I know that you also did work with a lot of cars on, what's that movie? Straight Outta Compton. And you did a lot of things there. So can you share with us what you're doing now?
Well, I started off as a celebrity car builder when I first came to hang out with Dr. Jackie. She actually put me on to Centennial High School in the Compton School District, which, by the way, they just heavily funded it, the automotive class that I graduated from. So now I get to take them on field trips and things like that because, you know, a lot of people think that mechanics don't make any money. So I said, really? Let me show you then. You know, so we got a field trip out to the Pomona Raceway where they got to see some mechanics who flew in on private jets, you know. Oh man, now we're working on a field trip down to the Porsche Experience. Y'all familiar with that new Porsche test racetrack in, was it Carson, California? So, you know, I just want to, like she said, exposure is everything. I want them to know, like actually, a good friend of mine is Snoop Dogg's personal mechanic. A lot of people don't know, like I'm a celebrity car builder. I pioneered the lowrider industry by restoring a lot of classic cars and lowriders for rap videos, movies, TV shows, commercials. And a lot of people don't realize that all these rappers and singers and entertainers probably got 10, 15, 50 cars. And they have people who specifically work on them. And they make a lot of money, you know. So I thought that was interesting that she was here, you know. But now, currently, someone heard me say, yeah, we bought the building back in the days of the shop I used to own. And so now they took me, let's talk more about that. You're not talking about credit repair, you're talking about building from the ground up. I realize that most people around the country don't know anything about real estate. So I turned around and I just released my first book called Monetizing Gentrification. So now I travel around the country talking about real estate.
I just want to ask all of you, and whoever would like to jump at this, it's 4:48 or 4:49. What are we doing wrong in schools? How can we do it better?
Community involvement, parent involvement.
More of that, okay. What else? Duran?
Well, unfortunately, there was an act that was involved that was called No Child Left Behind. So when
I found out it left a lot of folks back. Go ahead.
But when it was involved,
Okay.
what happened is you start to see, you know, test taking going all the way down. You start to see students when you actually do the what do you call that? The prep test. No, not the SAT. When you to see where their grades at were.
There were a lot of tests.
No, the CASE test.
Yeah.
So like when you do the CASE test and you see where their students are at, they're nowhere near at the grade level supposed to be because of No Mind Left Behind, right? No child left behind. So what we've done is we've actually created the free tutoring program, No Mind Left Behind, because the minds are left behind in the grade level that student lost inferiority at. So you're gonna talk to a sixth grader who's really in second grade mentally. Unfortunately, physically, they look like a sixth grader, but mentally, they're in second grade. So what we have to do is we have to take the approach in a one-on-one basis with each student. Don't just look at a classroom of 25 students and say 25 students are here. Figure out how to work with that one student uniquely. And that's the beauty of life, is being able to work with these students hands-on, one-on-one basis, seeing their stats grow, seeing their confidence grow, seeing them being able to lose inferiority to the system and start talking to you about school, house, given comfortability in an environment where they actually are either shunned at or they actually don't know how to act because their home is so crazy, they go crazy when they're at school. So it's like we need to be able to take the blanket off of so many structured layers and literally work with our students on a one-on-one basis. Allocate the time. Allocation of time is so important because, you know, school is only a few hours, right? So what we have to do is we still need to figure out how to keep those students on that school site, but allocate more time of tutoring. Because when I look at the IEPs, the schools are not even accepting IEPs anymore at a high level. They're trying to approach a new approach and say, no, don't give them the IEP, because if we give them IEP, we have to give them tutoring. We have to give them all these independent notions that we don't want to be accounted for. So as parents, we have to hold the school district accountable. As teachers, we have to voice our opinions and say, no, I want to be here more. How can we create more opportunity? Because when I go to the schools, there's always teachers that are willing to work with me. There are always teachers that are willing to be ambassadors for our programs, to be able to transcend homework so I can know what the homework is for the students. So it's very important for us to truly team up with the right ones that want to work with us, and let's ball out.
And thank you for saying that. We need to support teachers because, and I was just thinking about, I'm sorry, real quick, is with Walgreens, you all actually dedicated an entire aisle to teachers' schools, Me to We teachers' school supplies, right?
Correct. So back in July, August, we had the entire aisle. If you purchased a product from that aisle, a portion of the proceeds went back to the Me to We teachers throughout the entire month.
I think a couple of things. One is that we need to understand the social emotional piece to our children because they are dealing with a lot. And so we definitely need to work with families because there's trauma, particularly in our urban communities. Second of all, we have an expanded learning program that's before school and after school so that children have tutoring and they have enrichment activities all the way to 6 o'clock in all of our schools. To answer your question, No Child Left Behind, but in recent years, they had the California High School exit exam, and the children, there were thousands and thousands, particularly urban children, who did not get their high school diploma based on one test. Even that's why I had that pause, before. One test determined whether they would get their high school diploma, even though they were in high school from 9th grade to 12th grade and passed every single class. They still did not get their diploma if they didn't pass that exam. One of the things I think we're doing wrong is to base a child's assessment of whether they are learning based on one test. We all go through it.
Oh, I'm supposed to be neutral.
We take the ACT and the SAT and the GRE and all those other tests. But to say to a child that your intellectual capacity is based solely on one multiple choice test is unfair, is unjust.
Because they may not know how to take a test.
A lot of adults. We study for our tests, right? I have to really impress upon my teachers. They're like, oh, Dr. Turner, you want us to teach to the test. I said, no, I don't want you to teach to the test. I want you to teach to the skills on the test.
Well,
okay? Because I want our kids to walk in and be able to know what are the skills that are necessary to pass this test, because every adult in here has studied for a test that they had to take. That's just something that we do. But when we sit children down to an exam that's going to determine whether they move to a new grade level or whether they graduate from a high school, I think that what we need to do instead is to have a portfolio for each child, where there are multiple measures that determine whether a child has been successful, and that portfolio follows them instead of that one test.
now, do you see why I called you? All right, that is amazing.
I learned everything from Dr. Sanders, by the way.
Yes, James.
I'll think one last thing now. I just want to say, the idea of what we do wrong, maybe it's not what we do well enough. Listening. We don't listen. We do, but we don't. But everybody's response up here is based on listening. If you do something that is tailored to a child or a person, it's based on listening to what they say they need, or listening even between the lines of what they say to figure out how to best engage them. Because the idea is that it's not all cookie cutter. We don't just lay it out and it's just the same. So listening to the child, listening to the teacher, and seeing what they say they need and how they want to teach, and finding the way to make what the listening, when you do listen, make it actionable, so that you can then do proper steps to resolve and actually address what you listened and heard. And it might be something so easy as bringing in more of these community partnerships, because the teacher won't have the capacity to do it all. But if you have a program like Duran's program, or you have a school like yours that, how you shape it, maybe that becomes a model for somebody in class to make a microcosm of that within this space that they operate in. So for me, I think it's really about the listening, the action, and then the support behind that.
That was so powerful. Ty?
Yes, ma'am. I would say again, I agree with the panel. When you think about problems, I'm like, oh my God, what? The very first thing was family and community engagement. But I think we have to decide that regardless of what our situation is and how we interact, whether we have kids in school, whether we are really engaged in what's going, we need to walk in and find out what's happening. I think partnership doesn't stop. And I know, we've got the queen of partnership here with Dr. Jackie, but praise the roof. But I think, that level of commitment, whether you're bringing donuts in occasionally, that's right. You've got to be engaged, to make the school environment differently, because I think when people know you care, their reactions are different.
That's right.
And so I'm very passionate about that. And Dr. Jackie said at the beginning something else that was profound. I think you have to give students an opportunity to know that there is something greater. To say college and career ready is fine, but they still need to be prepared constantly, all the time.
Okay, did I not say this panel was the most powerful panel? And I say it even in front of the CEO and founder of Digital Hollywood right in the back, who I need to just bring up here at this very moment. You all, let's give a big hand. Victor Harwood, and as he is walking here, I must say, we gotta stand up for you, sir. And I said it earlier, and I gotta read it in front of him. Past 2 decades, developed, produced over 200 leading conferences and events for artists, professionals, and top executives around this world. Mr. Harwood is considered a leading authority on the convergence of the entertainment and technological industries. He is a powerhouse, he cares, he has been involved in this business so long, but decided this time that he wanted to embark on bringing educators to the table. He didn't have to do it. We haven't been invited until this year, and now he says, let's invite them back again. He is so serious, he calls me every day, even on Sunday, and he says, Jackie, let's do this thing. And let me just tell you, sometimes you can be beside a tree and not know how tall it is because you're so close to it. But when you step back, you realize that this tree is causing pleasantries and shade for everybody. And I am so glad to know this man. Mr. Victor Harwood has changed my life, as many others have come into my life. And he is now here today, who's given us a platform. Can we just help me give him another hand? For who he is. Come up here, the brainchild of Digital Hollywood.
Everything she said's a lie. Not true. She's just too kind. She is the inspiration. She is the change agent. She is the person that inspires people to do better in every part of their life and everything they do. So it's Dr. Jackie who should be thanked. I want to thank you.
Dr. Joe right there.
I'm just a newcomer here, and Dr. Jackie is where it's at. So I want to, the idea that we could play any role at all at Digital Hollywood, the tech community, the entertainment community, in addressing the questions of education, innovation, finding out how we could get into the future? What brings us into the future? What are the steps that we need to take? And this is so important, and of course, I think it's so important for our community, which is not the education community, the innovation, digital Hollywood technology community, to just be as far engaged as we possibly can. So this was my hope, that we could make some little entryway into getting that change to happen, and that by promoting these ideas continuously via our events on our website, and I'll push it through all events that I run during the year. In other words, it's not, the whole idea is repetition and pushing and then educating and getting people used to the idea until it clicks. And then they say, oh, now I finally, 5 years later, oh, now I finally understand why they were doing all that. So I'm there. In other words, I'll be doing it in 5 years too. So I want to thank Dr. Jackie for everything.
Okay, so let's give our panelists a big round of applause. I'd like our panelists just to come down here, please. Do not leave, because we want to just give some special recognition, although every one of you are special, and I appreciate your work. Many of you worked, how many of you worked earlier today? And you just made it here. And I appreciate it so much. Do not leave, because again, I wish I could just do something like this for every single one of you, but we wanted to just take this moment to recognize just the work that we wanted to just say thank you for. So please have a seat if you can. And Victor, are you up here with me? Okay. I want to just recognize Scholastic Education. 100 years they have been in this work. And they have done such great work impacting youth, and now they have listened to the voices of the community, and now have created a new literature, new classroom book libraries called Rising Voices, that is books celebrating Black and Latino boys. This is something to recognize. Ty Chapman, if you would please come. I would like to honor Scholastic with this award. Isn't it beautiful? It's called the Dr. Jacqueline Sanderlin Visionary Award in recognition of outstanding achievement in community service, November 12th, 2019. Thank you. And I'm going to save this other person for last. I would like to also recognize Microsoft. They, if you were here earlier, they are impacting lives. Microsoft has went above and beyond, and now they are working with Flipgrid, and they're making so much free, accessible literacy available to everyone, and they are on a mission to do so, and I'm just so pleased to help them carry that voice along. And so I'd like to have Microsoft come right now. And I appreciate everything you all are doing.
Thank you so much. Oh, you want to say anything? I have nothing to say. Thank you so much. Just thank you. We love working with educators. It's such an honor to be here with all of you today and to continue this mission together. So thank you.
And you can stay here because we also want to recognize We Charity. And so would you please give this to We Charity? They had to leave, but if you would recognize them with this, please. Thank you. Oh, that's right. Get Doing. That is for we. Oh. Sorry. Okay, and you heard earlier the work Walgreens is doing. You know, it's nothing like stepping up corporate responsibility, but being happy about doing it. And that's what Walgreens has done. I mean, millions and millions of dollars donating an aisle for school supplies, making sure teachers can apply and be nominated for $500. Listen, $500 may not be a lot for a lot of you, but it's a lot when you're a teacher and you have a class of 40. You can use it for anything you want to. We're not even checking up on what the teachers use the $500 for. If they use it, you know, and on aisle 8 and get a little alcohol, they might need to do whatever they need to do. It very well might make them a better teacher. So we decided, I thank you, Walgreens. Come on up, please, sir. Would you please receive and accept this award? On behalf of Walgreens, and what you all are doing is, the award you're giving is so much more than this award. But please take this on behalf of myself and Victor Harwood, CEO and President of Digital Hollywood. Victor, why don't you up here? You have been here all this time. Yeah, he's somewhere in the background. Oh wait, let's get this up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
And I would like to bring up certainly an individual who has decided, after so many years of his life, has, and I hate to share this, but it's the truth, has, you know, not always went in the right direction. And when he, after incarceration, came out and decided to be a real model and not just a role model for youth through horses and having young people come to his ranch. And he's expanded and opened up his own summer youth program, has found funding for poor children to come. And whenever you can come and give your heart into an animal and learn how to take care of it and learn how to ride it and then learn how to appreciate nature, this is what he is doing, and is with his own money and oftentimes without any help. And I asked him to be here because that is what it's all about. It is really about coming from your heart. Someone said it earlier, and I couldn't think of, you know, anyone more deserving than Montrell Montgomery. Platinum Plus. Victor knows about this program. When I mentioned it to Victor, come on up, Victor. I said to Victor, listen, we got to recognize him in Compton. How many of you know anything about the horses there, Richland Farms? And at any time you can drive there and see young people riding horses around. And many of those homes in Compton have huge backyards, ranches. And it's just in taking children who oftentimes couldn't focus, had negative behavior, always getting in trouble, but they were just angels when they got to him because he's taught them another way.
I want to thank Dr. Jackie, first of all, for this award, along with Digital Hollywood, because, man, growing up in South Central LA, you know, we didn't have a lot of options in the 80s. You know, I'm 47 years old. Started riding horses on Figueroa and El Segundo at 7 years old. My dad had horses, uncles, and, you know, my role models back then in the 80s was, I was a Laker fan. You was either Michael Jackson, Magic Johnson, Dodgers, Lakers, or drug dealers from our neighborhood. I'm the nephew of Freeway Ricky Ross, the American gangster from out of Los Angeles. I followed my uncle from the streets all the way to federal prison, transporting drugs throughout the United States. I served 11 years and 8 months in federal prison. And when I was in there, I realized that everything that I learned in the hood was based off of righteousness, but was actually wrong. So with no help, I re-educated myself. When guys was on the yard, lifting weights, plotting on breaking law when they came home, I read over 300 books and studied every day in prison. And I made a commitment to myself that I was gonna be a part of the solution and not the problem. And I came home, me and my fiance, we worked remodeling Pep Boys all over the United States, contracting, and I reinvested my money into my passion, horses. And last year, March, we made a commitment. Our daughter's 5 years old. She wanted a horse. I bought her a horse. We was living in Vegas. We kept our horse in Little Rock at my dad's ranch. And we used to come back and forth every weekend for like 6 or 7 months, paying for hotels, driving back and forth for my daughter to ride. And I said, I can't afford it no more. We just go rent us a place here, end up opening up a ranch. Now we have 13 horses. We run Platinum Plus Stallions, Youth Horsemanship Academy. I do an after-school program for the kids, all funded by myself out of our pocket. We haven't had really no financial support. We ran our first annual Horsemanship Academy, 4 weeks, bringing 60 kids, 15 kids a week, 6 days a week from Palmdale, Penny Lang, foster care. We bring in all their kids. It was like $250 a kid. I think I got donated $2,500. It was a $15,000 project. I done all out of my pocket, minus $2,500. Fed the kids, picked them up, dropped them off, warm meals every day from our ranch home. And, we just enjoy what we're doing. Oh yeah, banquets. We enjoy what we're doing. And, for Dr. Jackie to honor us for this, it's big. Because this is the first time we've really been honored on this stage. And we appreciate you all. Thank you.
Does the hat look good? Yeah. I always do this, huh? Touching. It's about being real. And I've always learned, and someone taught me, I am a movement, not a monument. And you taught me that. Sir, come on up here right now. Come on up here. Duran Bowie, the programs that you are doing with youth. Now I'm gonna have to stop you because we are on a time frame. But come on up here. Now, let me just say, when I introduced him to Victor, Victor said, is this Duran? And then he had Bowie as the last name, so he was like, we love what you do. We honor what you do for youth all the time. I've seen you in action. You have done tutoring in the parking lot. You held a tutoring at churches. You have held tutorings in libraries. I am not playing. He will hold a tutoring class anywhere he goes and make sure you... And he is serious about it. And I said, who does that? Who does that? When I met him immediately, I said, who does that? He said, I do that. He says, because I am a movement, not a monument. Please give Mr. Duran Bowie a hand.
This is a blessing. This is a blessing. This is a blessing. Get your flowers while you're alive. It's a beautiful thing to be able to get something like this because, like the brother said, you do not get honored for the work. And I don't want honor. You know what I'm saying? No, honor is participating, being a part of it, being alive, being vivacious, being able to hear success stories. So this is a blessing and it motivates me, but trust and believe you're gonna have to give me more of these because it's going down. You know what I'm saying? It's going down. God is the greatest. Thank you so much.
All right. Finally, Victor, I need you here for this one. Come on up here. Victor, well, Victor, you get the biggest award of them all. But I recognized someone earlier that I want you to know from Todd Johnson from Laurie's Prime Rib. And how many of you were here to hear me tell that story? Who opened up the door for my students and my scholars, when we didn't have the funds to even get a school bus, and brought children year after year for 10 years to eat in his restaurant, tour the campus, go in the back and put on chef jackets, and without $0. And every year, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't gonna call him and say, can we come back? And he called me on his own and said, it's time for you to come back. He said, I want you to not only bring your scholars, but I want you to bring their parents, and I want you to bring the teachers to come to our restaurant. And they dined at tables like you are sitting at. And so before we came, I had to teach them etiquette skills so they didn't embarrass me when we got there. And Mr. Johnson stood out in front of his restaurant with a red carpet and his entire staff waiting to greet us, and brought us in for 10 years. And now this man has been elevated, as the universe would have it, as now the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Beverly Hills. And to this day, he says, Jackie, I want to work with you. Let's be a movement. Let's give a big hand for Mr. Todd Johnson. I don't know, I just love you. I just love you. Todd, there's so many things. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been waiting for this moment because there's just no other way to say it. I appreciate, that's not even enough words to say. I ran into one of our, I'm gonna just tell you all this, I ran into one of our scholars 2 years ago. I was at a church and I was going around putting some money in the pan, and some young man says, Dr. Sanderlin, Dr. Sanderlin. Now he looked very different now, because you know how kids grow up. So he got real tall. He said, I went back to Laurie's and I took my mom. Well, he just got shot and he's killed, and he's been killed. But I saw him, you didn't know this, but I have a picture of that young man with us on the cover of a newspaper. And he was looking up at me as we were walking down the aisle. You remember that? Let me tell you, sometimes you will impact a life and you don't know how long or short that life will be. But that was the whole purpose. That he said, I went back and I took my mother. That's what it's all about. He may not be here with us today, but he remembered it, and all of those kids in that picture remember coming. It was an experience. Somebody says, well, did you have to take him to Beverly Hills to get that experience? I says, well, for that steak, yes. I did, because I couldn't find another steak like that anywhere else. And it's about exposure. I thought I was rich for a long time, till my parents told me otherwise. Until I got 20, 30. I thought we were rich all that time because they exposed me to music and dance, and I was everywhere in Beverly Hills on Restaurant Row. And I told my parents, they said, no, we just made it happen. Sometimes our parents are just doing whatever they can to make it happen. But then you meet a partner that continues that journey. Let's give him a hand.
Wow, well, I mean, this is an honor. After hearing what you folks do, I'm honored to even be in your presence, because I think what you guys do frontline is amazing. So it's all about just making it better than when we got there. And my saying is always, you make sure people feel better after they've come to your restaurant, or even my job now, then they leave feeling better than when they came in, and it's as simple as that. And some of the things that you folks are doing, I applaud you, and I'm amazed, and I just look forward to doing some more partnerships. got to have fun. So fake it till you make it. So.
Victor and I were in the back talking, saying that both of us need an award. We've come to the agreement, we're just going to order our own. Victor, can you close us out, my friend?
Absolutely. It's my honor to close this out. What a day it's been. You know, you guys have been here all day. Did Jackie do a good job today? The best conference person in the world. You know how to do it. You can hold the floor any day and keep it going all night long. So thanks so much, Dr. Jackie, for making this possible, for inspiring us all. And let's look to the future. The future is always the most important, and we'll go there. And she's given us the energy, and we'll make it happen. So thanks, everybody, for being here today. And come back tomorrow, come back on the next day. We got lots and lots of more things. Don't forget, we've got STEM and space on Thursday, so I want to give a plug to those people. So that's the next frontier. What can I say? Okay, thank you again for coming. It's great to have you.